What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledPeople. Alright, so the one and only story for this episode is called Vile Former Friend Expects Me to Make Her Priority Number 1 Even on the Day My Father Dies from Cancer. Gets cut out of my life. This is a long one. This was posted elsewhere, but I added more info for story cohesion. I didn't quite know where to post this. The person, let's call her Karen, the story is about is most certainly about an entitled parent, but is also quite entitled herself. There are so many things I could tell you about this woman. She's a horrible person all around and would sell her own children up the river if she knew it could get her what she wanted in life. She's perennially dissatisfied with what she has and perpetually negative with a stage 4 defeatist attitude, unless she's playing a role to get someone to do her bidding. I think she qualifies as a horrible person and a choosing beggar. To put it accurately, she's a two-faced, backstabbing, manipulative, lying, drama-starting witch with a knack for playing the victim when anyone dares confront her with her deceitfulness and shut her down. First, some insight as to what this harridan was, and apparently still is, really like. I knew Karen for about 9 years, 2005 to 2014. I was an aspiring writer and met her, a self-proclaimed actress, writer, producer, through my one-time mentor. She claimed to have 20 years experience in the business, when in reality, the only acting she ever did was like a spoiled 3-year-old trapped in a 40-something woman's body. The only thing she ever wrote, besides a grocery list, was a bad check, and the only thing she ever produced was a bowel movement. My mentor was assisting me in getting my then one and only script ready to be produced into an indie film. The production was scrapped, mostly due to Karen plagiarizing and trying to steal my work right out from under me. I pulled the plug. I threatened to sue and publicly humiliate her in vengeful retribution if she didn't back off. That whole ordeal, in and of itself, is an entirely different story. You may be happy to know I'm currently revisiting my options with a wonderful new director and his highly skilled production team. Before all this deception had come to light, I, not knowing her for the narcissistic sociopath that she is, had naively befriended Karen. Visits at her house were tension-filled as she let her daughter from her first marriage and her entitled boyfriend's son, 7 years younger, from her current marriage do whatever they wanted. They both behaved like hellions. Her daughter was 15 by this point and often retreated to her room. Her son was another story. He was a spoiled punk brat and she never corrected him. She knew her son was a problem. She didn't always give him whatever he wanted, but she rarely told him no and made it stick. In the rare instance she did tell him no, he would throw a tantrum until she finally gave in. In retrospect, I realized he was only emulating what he saw and doing what he knew he could get away with. I really hope he grew up to be a responsible and respectful young man. If my math is correct, he should be 19 now. One particular instance, he grabbed my cell phone, it was an old Samsung flip phone, and ran away with it. I can't remember the exact exchange, but I chased after him to get it back. He was laughing the whole time. I demanded it back. Instead of returning it, he threw it. I called him a little brat and went to make sure my phone wasn't damaged. It was cracked, slightly on the left side by the flip part. Karen was out of the room and playing oblivious. The exchange went something like this. "What's going on? Entitled brat just grabbed and threw my phone." Karen's face changed from shock, embarrassment, then relaxed to a calm expression. "Oh, he was just playing." I was dumbfounded. Playing? He cracked my phone! "It's an old phone. Aren't you due for an upgrade anyway? Look at mine." I was fuming as she retrieved her early model of one of the first smartphones. An iPhone, I think. passive-aggressively with just the right amount of vitriol. Must be nice having a husband who pays for everything so you don't have to work. You are unemployed, right? Then it was Karen who started fuming. She asked me to leave, which I gladly obliged. A series of phone calls and voicemails followed, with Karen calling me every name in the book. It was a typical cowardly reaction from her, as she always had to have the last word, even when she was wrong. She never had the nerve to say anything to my face. In fact, showing what a cold-hearted witch she was, I can say with 98% certainty, she was the one who outed me to my father. I would stake my life on it. This was back in the day of huge desktop setup computers, and it was commonplace for everyone to use MSN or Yahoo Messenger. I had bought the whole system myself, and as a result of living at home at the time, everyone used it. Being continually unemployed, she did nothing but surf the web in her bathrobe and chain smoke all day. I would come home to a series of angry, unread messages. Social media hadn't really caught on yet, and I did not yet have a smartphone of my own. Knowing very well I had to work, she'd be pissed off that I didn't immediately respond. It wasn't beneath her to use things I told her in confidence to blackmail me or file them away to use as weapons later on. There were times where I came home and found messages hanging in an unread chat, just sitting there on the screen, waiting for anyone to read them. I know for a fact she spread a completely untrue rumor that I caught an STD from a one-night stand. When I found out about that, I was livid. She learned very quickly not to throw rocks while living in a glass house. I fought fire with fire. Among Karen's countless loathsome attributes, slanderous gossip and libelous attacks were at the top of the list. She talked major smack about everyone to anyone who would listen. The primary victim of her poisonous viper venom was her saint of a husband. She readily admitted she never loved, would cheat on if the opportunity arose, and leave him once she was famous. Eye roll, cue the pro revenge. Let's just say I had her saintly but short-tempered husband's cell phone number and might have put it to good use. Hypothetically speaking, a few none too subtle hints about deeply personal marital problems. Keep in mind, this was marriage number 2 for both of them. I may or may not have had knowledge of, as well as a thinly veiled suggestion he check her messenger chat logs for evidence of suspected extramarital affairs. Would have been more than enough for his fevered imagination to kick into overdrive. It wouldn't have taken much to send him on a warpath because his first wife cheated on and left him for another woman. Ex-wife also got custody of their 3 children. In case you're wondering, no, she never found out that I allegedly tipped him off. Hell hath no fury like a gay man scorned. Now, for the title of my post. It was August 2011. My father was losing his 6-month battle with lung cancer. He had been diagnosed back in February of that year, 2 days before his birthday. It was stage 3B, and there was nothing they could do. The chemo and radiation treatments only prolonged the inevitable. We had just received word that the cancer had metastasized. He now had multiple tumors in his stomach and 1 in his brain. They gave him 3 months to live. It was a particularly hard time for both me and my mother. She was about to lose her husband of 40 years, and I, at 30, a closeted gay man, was about to lose the only father I had ever known. Out of 5 of us. My 17 years my senior half-brother / my father's love child, whose weakness for underage girls caused him to lose his teaching license, I barely know and have 0 contact with him. My invisible 13 years my senior half-sister who I've only spoken to on the phone once, my 9 years my senior brother who was, at the time, serving a 10-year prison sentence. I have no contact with him. My fraternal twin brother, who is a recovering narcotics abuser, I have no contact with him, and me, the normal one. I, who have never done drugs and never gotten in trouble with the law, was treated the worst just because I happen to be gay. Cue Karen. She called multiple times daily, wanting to shoot the proverbial BS, knowing damn well I had other things to deal with, and I had already made it clear I had no desire to speak with her. I would remind her that I had a terminally ill parent and I didn't need her drama dumped on top of everything else. She wasn't used to anyone standing up to her, least of all me. Now, for the ultimate example of entitlement. September 8th, 2011 arrives, and my mom gets the call that just before 7 a.m. that my father had passed away. As soon as she left to go to hospice, I foolishly called Karen for moral support. There was a shred of hope that she would be able to put aside her petty drama and be, a friend. That hope was soon dashed to pieces. Hello? I have some news for you. He died, didn't he? Yeah. Are you okay? No. I paused, reflecting how my life had now irreparably changed as the only father I had ever known was now gone. Any chance of him ever being proud of me or us being friends, as slim as it was gone forever. Taking advantage of the brief silence, Karen immediately started talking about herself. I cut her off. You just couldn't resist, could you? What? I was just trying to distract you. You're so full of it. Newsflash, I don't care. I need some time to myself. Time without you invading my life with tales of woe concerning your broke behind, your husband, your kids, or your self-made pathetic existence. My mom just lost her husband of 40 years. And I need to help her get through this. Relatives are going to be ringing the phone off the hook, and I don't need you adding to it too. Karen went to say something else, and I hung up. After going to the funeral home to arrange for my father's cremation, I spent the day helping my mom out around the house. She, understandably, had gotten into the vodka she had stashed away. This was partially to deal with the loss of her husband, but also to numb the mixture of pain and aggravation of fielding phone calls from her numerous cantankerous former in-laws. In an attempt to clear my head, I went out by myself. I left my phone at home. Call it a hunch, but I just knew Karen would not be able to comply with my no-contact order. I returned home several hours later. Between my cell phone and landline, I kid you not, there were at least a dozen missed calls, all from, you guessed it, Karen. I promptly started deleting all her calls and voicemails without listening to or returning them. I was in the process of changing the voicemail greeting from my father's voice to mine when the phone rang. It was Karen. I answered, and before I could even finish saying hello, she started talking about herself. I snapped. Shut the heck up! What part of my father died today? Don't you understand? What is your malfunction? Karen huffed. Then she responded with the cruelest phrase that could be said to a grieving son. Well, you two never got along anyway. It was like a baseball bat hit me across my chest. You bench! I hung up. Both phones rang multiple times. I didn't return her calls. When I wouldn't pick up, a series of emails and private messages followed. I didn't read them. Though extremely unlikely, it's possible she was trying to apologize. It's much more likely that all attempts to contact me were excuses for her despicable, entitled behavior and a last-ditch effort to win by getting the last word. She had shown her true colors. I'd had it with her. Insight to what she thought was so important to repeatedly bug me mere hours after my father's death. Karen was still thinking she was going to be some hot-shot actress. According to her, she was the second coming of Meryl Streep. As if! She wasn't even at adult film level quality of acting. Apparently, she had used her connection through Don, my graphic web designer friend, to get to his client, a director in New Jersey, in a desperately pathetic attempt to get him to hire her. Karen kept spamming said director with her highly embellished, typo-filled resume, and headshots were overly filtered camera phone photo. I later found out from my web designer friend the director called Karen a crazy bimbo and blocked her. Helpful hint? Never lie on your resume. After that, I made sure Karen and I had little to no contact. Despite her compulsive attempts to contact me, once I changed cell numbers in spring 2014, I stopped hearing from her altogether. In some ways, I truly wish I could have been a fly on the wall to see her reaction when she realized I had blocked her on all my social media, tried calling my non-working old cell number, and all her emails came back as undeliverable. I don't feel bad at all for ghosting her, just relieved and liberated. I hope that vile bench is rotting in her pissed off world. Sorry, not sorry. Permission to use this in a video is granted. Just please drop the link in the comments section so I can watch the video once it's available. Edit. Update Summer 2017. I reconnected with Don. According to him, Karen's spiteful elderly mother-in-law, Nora, lives with her and her saintly husband now. There's lots of bad blood between the two of them. Nora had gotten a bad vibe from Karen from the very beginning and has hated her ever since. Their rocky relationship went from toxic to nuclear when Karen forced Nora's saint of a son into marriage by accidentally getting pregnant with entitled brat. Well, karma kicked Karen in the butt. She is now Nora's nursemaid. Karen's daily routine now includes waiting on Nora hand and foot as she is lectured on how she ruined Nora's son's life and turned Nora's grandson into a spoiled, entitled brat. Knowing all this, I scratch my head, wondering why Karen's husband never left her. I'd always presumed once entitled brat went off to college, Karen's saintly husband would serve her with divorce papers and beat it out of there. I digress and shrug. Edit. Update 2. What is that, July 2019? According to Don, Karen's daughter is almost 27, married, has a child of her own, and her half-brother, the entitled brat, is almost 20. From what I understand, entitled brat is in college and wants to cut the cord by going in the military. As I heard it, neither of them maintain contact with mommy dearest, their, mother. Edits. Update 3. January 2020. During a recent chat with Don, I was informed of the latest development in the crapfest that is Karen's life. I couldn't have cared less if she was broke and homeless, but sheer morbid curiosity caused me to be all ears. It turns out Karen had been up to her old tricks again, largely ignored by the few friends she had left. She had taken to social media on which she scammed complete strangers out of money. She used multiple Twitter accounts from which she harassed and bullied people who refused to open their wallets. Additionally, in a typical move of r/choosing beggars, she launched not one, but 2 now deactivated GoFundMe accounts because she didn't get enough money. The first time around needed to help take care of mother-in-law Nora. Being a total moron in both fundraising campaign descriptions, she flat out admitted she isn't working. If you've read this far, thank you so much. You know that's translation for, she hasn't had anything remotely resembling long-term employment in years, / doesn't feel like working because she's lazy. Upon learning this, I just laughed. I wonder what she really wanted the money for. I roll. Post-scriptum, she was banned from both websites. Wow. So, that Karen was a real piece of work. Holy poon. Well, definitely fits in this subreddit and like at least 30 other subreddits because holy crap, that woman, she's something else. How does she manage to be that bad of a person? Like she's got an ego the size of Russia. Like, wow. Anyway, I hope OP found peace with their father's death, and I really hope that they've moved on from this sort of the crappy toxicity that they were constantly exposed to. And I'ma leave that voice crack in because it keeps me humble. I'm like the most humble person I know, more humble than anyone else in the world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.